So I have one more question on governance model, because I still feel things getting complex. We spoke about change. Now, how do you place governance model, and what are the real life stories which is happening on the ground?
So interesting. You see, governance. There are two ways to look at it. Governance off the cloud and in the cloud. Okay. So off the cloud and for both of them, we have the world is full of accelerators and tools that will enable you to manage those governance aspects of all of it, right? From when you say governance, I would put another perspective to it is, let's say, security governance. That is one of the biggest challenge people are facing. How do I keep my cloud secure? How do I keep my cloud costs down? Even that is a part of governance. Cost governance that you need to put. Now is a time when people say that, okay, I know what is cloud. I know how to do cloud. Now tell me, how do I manage the cloud?
Okay.
And that is what Ritan was putting that perspective around it. Management needs both compliance governance, cost governance. There's so many pillars of governance which are there, which needs to be managed into it. Maintenance. Okay, but then as we are progressing and cloud is getting more and more mature, these accelerators are simplifying it much further. So you really, as a CXO, you don't have to really be worried about unless and until you want to do everything yourself. The cloud itself, for example, AWS or Azure, they itself give you a lot of tools within the cloud to govern it themselves. Okay, and then there are layers above that which are built. So whatever your choice or the scale at which you're working, you have to pick up those governance.
Yeah.
Compliances from, let's say I said, from a penalty perspective, if you look at it, and if your compliances, you are going to like GDPR, you're going to be heavily penalized if you look into third-party models, which brings you very hard-bound governance onto it.
So I'm just segueing now to support, right? Now, in a hybrid cloud model where things get complex, now how should you look at support? Or how should customers look at support? Is there some best practices or?
Generally, what happens is, stepping a couple of steps back, when a customer starts their cloud journey or is in some phase of adoption but goes, say, enterprise scale onto the cloud journey, the first apprehension is how do they manage, because they're not sure of the skill set in-house, and with the best upskilling and everything which can be planned and done, they still need hand-holding. They will need hand-holding to the point whether they build those competency in-house or they decide to live with a service provider like ours over the length of the journey. So managed services plays a critical role in ensuring comfortably a comfortable stay. Like we check into a hotel and we ensure that the other services are there to ensure a very pleasant stay. That's what managed services brings to the table to customers who are unsure of how their given IT setup can scale up or adopt to that cloud. Various people take various connotations of that managed service. Some are happy with a provider like ours to just help them stabilize, handhold them to an extent, maybe a 6 month, a year, and while they bring in the capability, capacity, and take on the journey themselves. Some obviously want us to scale up onto an enterprise grade where they say that you manage my infrastructure on the cloud while we focus on our core businesses. And this is typically with large enterprises, with startups, where they say, I'll go and focus on my product, you take care of my infrastructure.
Got it. But I'm specifically pointing to a hybrid model, right?
Yeah,
or a multi-cloud where things get complex.
So tools plays an important role. So from a telemetry perspective, right, whether it's application telemetry or infra telemetry, tools plays an important role. So the way you have to look at it is that, do I get most of the customers looks for this, right? Do I have a single pane of view on all my resources running on, whether it is running on X hyperscaler, Y hyperscaler, doesn't matter, right? So the advantage of some of our native tools or solutions, what we got is, we have as a MSP, right? So we have tools which are compatible to all these hyperscalers, whether you run it on AWS or Azure or GCP. So telemetry is one of the major problems which the customers try to solve. And the other trend which we see a lot with most of the customers are they want to really leverage open source, and we use technologies like Grafana, Prometheus kind of solutions where if your concern is about how do I monitor when it is in multiple cloud, when it is in hybrid model, so there are definitely solutions around, and we can definitely, we normally handle that for customers.
So there are accelerators and solutions in place to handle
Right.
support as well.